One of my first talks here on Speaking of Music is me talking with my buddy James Genus. I sat down with James in New York a few months back before the quarantine. And James, you may know from Saturday Night Live. He's been in the house band for many years now. He also plays with Herbie Hancock. He's played with Michael Brecker, with Brecker Brothers, Makoto Ozone. Pretty much everyone in the jazz world James has worked with at some point. I've cut these videos into a few chunks because James and I sat down and talked for quite some time. So this first chunk is about 15 minutes long, maybe 13 minutes long. And it's primarily James talking about his experience with Mike Brecker, as well as him working with the various drummers he's worked with.
Hey man, what's up?
What's up, dude?
You good?
Yes. As far as the jazz folks you've worked with, pretty much, I don't even know if we can name them, but give me a few. Give me a few. I mean, thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
The conversations I've had with you are kind of a big inspiration for me wanting to do this because, you know, just over the years we've gotten to talk about stuff and I've gotten to be a fly on the wall to see what it's kind of like on the side of things that you do.
It's been an amazing ride, man. I just, to be like, not so dramatic about it, but you know, it's kind of like when you surpass your dreams of, you know, like people that, you know, you come to New York, you have a dream of, New York is the dream, and then the dream is maybe I can do something that I love doing and make a living at it, and that happens. Maybe I can, like, you know, the people that I've idolized or I've wanted to play with throughout the years or do projects with or whatever, you start doing those and it's kind of like...
And then soon counting some of those people amongst your close friends as well.
Yes, yes. You know, sometimes you go, sit back and go, wow, it's been pretty cool.
Amongst all these legendary artists that you've worked with, talk to me a little bit about being in Brecker's quartet, Michael Brecker's quartet with Tane, Joey Calderazzo.
Well, I mean, it started off with, that was like one of the first shows that I went to go see in New York at the Bottom Line. Joey Calderazzo was playing, I think Joey was...
He's a kid,
He was a kid, yeah. And, you know, Jeff Andrews and Stern and Adam Nussbaum. So that trio, Adam, Jeff, and Stern played at the 55 bar. I saw them at the 55 bar, then I went to the Bottom Line and I saw Michael, and then I was like, wow, this is, you know. I knew Michael from the records, but that was the first time I saw him live. But he had just, I mean, he had put out the first Impulse record, and Nothing Personal was on that, so that was like a big thing, and big New York tune too. So through that, I met Randy in a session and a gig, and through that I met Mike, and they did the reunion of the Brecker Brothers thing. So I went out with them for 7 years. 92 to 97.
So did Michael know that you also played upright? And
He had learned.
You were doing the fusion thing with them.
But I forgot to say that before the whole Return of the Brecker Brothers thing, through meeting Adam and the scene, and I was playing with people and blah, 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 that he was looking for someone if he was going to continue with this band, because he had started incorporating upright. So I was being recommended to do that. It never worked out, but it was like on, you know, in the works. So now fast forward after the Brecker Brothers, I guess, you know, it had its run, and then, you know, he wanted to get into his solo thing again. So I think Joey made a suggestion, why, you know, you should get him on bass, and then we get Tane, and then we can, you know, do this band. And we used to go to his house up in Westchester and play, and jam and play. And getting ready to do some gigs. And that's what happened. We fell into just doing the acoustic thing.
I mean, I feel like that was kind of an important band.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well, I mean, tell me a little bit about.
Like that.
Tell me. Well, when I say important, I mean I feel like they made an impact. I feel like you made an impact. I feel like people went out to see that. Michael has always been held in a certain regard by all musicians.
Yeah.
And obviously the Brecker brothers, the funk stuff, that had a thing. But when Michael went and did the acoustic thing, I don't know. It was so legit, and he was so seen as the fusion guy. This is me looking at it in retrospect how I see it. But it just seemed like, and I remember going to see that band, but it was before I knew you. I went to see that band at the Blue Note, and it was killing. It was like.
Yeah, I guess, Billy Hart, great drummer, he always said, you're in it, but you don't know it. Because he even said, makes comments to me, he's like, man, you don't know, you're in it. It's like, you're just going about your day.
Well, but you knew that Michael Brecker was, you knew how he's regarded musically.
Yeah.
Tell me about just about working with him, like personally. What was the vibe? What does a guy like that talk to you about? Is there any direction given? Or does he just let you do your thing?
Yeah, they didn't. The same with Herbie. They I guess it's kind of like if you're at that point, if they need to tell you something, then maybe you shouldn't be there. Yeah.
Okay. And what about just personally? Like, what was his vibe? He struck me as a sort of regular guy.
He was regular, funny. He said, he's just a regular dude. I mean, people used to say he looked like a dentist or a doctor or something like that. And one time we were playing at the 5 spot in the city. He was saying he was coming into town driving from Westchester, and he's driving his Town and Country. He had the family car with the kids, and he was coming from Westchester, trying to find parking. And then somebody drove up beside him and said, "Go back to the suburbs," and then just kept like driving past them. And that was funny to me because somebody saying that to Michael Brecker is like insane, which he was like that kind of a guy. He was a family dude that lived in the suburbs, but incredible. And I knew him from Cameo.
Yeah. I mean, I can still hear it right in my head right now. As we're talking, I'm just hearing his riffs on the Cameo thing.
When I found out that was him, I was like, what?
But then it's like, when I found out that was him, I was like, oh, of course that's him. Who else would that be?
Exactly.
Like, of course.
Yeah. And just, I guess, watching him do, he had the Iwi, and watching him do that thing, and just playing, and his approach, and I guess just being around it is an influence in itself, him as a person, him as a musician, hearing him play, on the road, checking into a hotel, just on the daily.
Like as compared to, say, Herbie, is there a different approach to leading the band?
I'd say the same. It's not like, because I've been through schools and I've seen schools, but this is not a school of an artist, like Betty Carter or Art Blakey or,
Horace, maybe?
Horace, those are schools. Those are like, you're going through them, you're doing a particular type of music, and this guy is the,
This is how you play when you play with me.
Yeah, he's the leader, he's, there's structure. There's structure with the other stuff too, but it's kind of like you are part of the band, but, you're support, you're hired, they have you there for your talent, but with those guys, with like Mike and like with Herbie, that you become a part of equal in musicianship, but maybe not equal as in like marquee, but equal in musicianship. You're there to play, have fun and play, and they like what you do. You of course love what they do. You're part of the big picture.
And I think maybe this will be the last thing I'll ask you about, but this, tacking right onto that, you've played with all of the drummers, like all of the drummers, like the guys that everyone holds in the highest regard as drummers. These are the guys who you play with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I've jammed with Dijonette at his house. He says casually. I mean, this is
Steve Jordan.
You know, Steve Jordan. Obviously, nowadays you're with Vinnie Colaiuta all the time. Weckl. Gad.
Yeah, Dennis Chambers. Gad. Yeah. Blade.
Do you have any different approach when you play with different guys in terms of finding their groove that you're finding yourself in, or you just listening, playing?
I have a take on it, but then I kind of was. I went to do this camp with Victor Wooten, and I'm doing like a master class or a talk, and I said that, you know, playing with drummers, you figure it out in like a couple of measures, like, you know, where the beat is and how. I guess it's the approach I take with any drummer I play with. It's like you're here to make the music feel good, and you have to find out where you fit in that to make it feel good. Do you play with them? It's not like a conscious, I'm playing with them, or I'm playing behind them, or I'm playing ahead of them. It's just, you can say that, but it's also like just being me and being you in saying that I understand the relationship of bass and drums, and within this context, this is what I'm gonna do. Not thinking about it, but I'm still being me. And it's a process, because what works for some doesn't work for all, you know? If they're good at what they do, you
just lock in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's most of the case. Most of the cases are like that. It's, you know, each one has a different feel, though. So that's another thing. You have to listen to phrasing and personality, basically, is what it is. And just listening. A lot of what I was talking about earlier is just like action, reaction. Like, you know, if I'm just not listening and I'm just trying to do whatever I want to do, I'm not helping the situation, because I'm not listening to what the drummer is doing or whomever, but we're talking about drums. So, you know, am I fitting in with, are we like, you know, connecting?
Just going from Weckl to Gad to Colaiuta, right there is like, for many people, those are the guys. Then on the jazz world, it's pretty much tame. You know, it's like those are the guys. So
Yeah. Yeah.
And one other thing I'll say and of note is that also with all these guys who are, you know, world renowned and legendary, you're down to play. I know you do stuff for all kinds of people who call you up, and you still show up and play at the 55 bar, and you still show up and do a date with a singer, or our buddy Destiny Wolf has called you, and you go down and play at Rockwood, and you know, you do stuff for me, and you know, you make music.
I make music. I love playing. I love music, but it also keeps you, you know, not separated from it. I mean, you could definitely take that route and just be like, I only do these things and I don't go out. Right. And I don't play with anyone.
Right, first class only.
But inspiration.
James, man, thank you so much for doing this.
It's my pleasure, man.
Appreciate it. It's great to talk to you about this stuff. Thank you.
If you've gotten this far in the video, I hope you'll consider liking and subscribing to this channel. I've got lots more videos coming. It's going to be me speaking with a lot of different musicians from all walks of the musical life. Jazz musicians, film composers, session musicians, artists, producers, mixers, etc. I'm hoping also to have some videos coming of me speaking with a couple music execs who can talk about music business related stuff. We'll be talking about music here on Speaking of Music.